Welcome back to the Scotti-BYTE channel, and this is Scott. So most of the time in our home labs, we connect to our hosted services, servers, and containers with the SSH command, and we get a terminal on the remote system. Today, I want to provide some examples that are related to connecting to Android systems, and specifically, I want to focus on some directions that are being taken in regards to the Fire TV devices by Amazon. Those of you who watch the channel know that I emphasize self-hosted applications using open source software. That being said, I do use Amazon Fire TV sticks at home, and I do use Amazon Echo devices. Now, I like Amazon Echo devices because they allow me to tie a lot of things into my home automation. And I like the Fire TV sticks because I can do things like voice command my cameras. Now, I don't use the Amazon skills in order to make that connection. I have made a video in the past, and I use the Monocle Bridge device to go ahead and allow for the display of my cameras via voice commands. And there's some things that are becoming an increasing problem. One of the things that's a major problem is if your internet connection happens to go out, then this screen that you're looking at here immediately reverts to a screen that says that your Wi-Fi is disconnected. And that's not true at all. The Wi-Fi is still connected. What they're trying to say is they're trying to say that your connection through your WAN to Amazon is not currently working. And so therefore it can't display all these tiles and advertisements and that sort of thing that you get. But as you can see here, I have apps that don't require the cloud at all, notably my Plex server that runs locally. I also have the Jellyfin app out here that runs locally. And I have my camera display application, which happens to be TinyCam Pro, and it runs locally, as well as OnVIR, which is another RTSP camera display program. And then I have my HD Home Run app, which can also run my HD Home Run digital tuner locally. So as it turns out, there are quite a number of things that I can do on my Amazon device that do not specifically require the cloud. And yet, despite putting in comments many times to Amazon about the fact that they basically neuter their device the minute that they notice the cloud connection go away, I haven't really received any response. So my workaround is to go once that happens, we don't get the menu here anymore, so I can go down into my menu area, and I can go down into applications, and then once I get in applications, I can go down to manage installed applications, and then let's say my network is out because I couldn't get to that menu. Well, I can arrow down here to my Plex, and once I arrow down to my Plex, I can go ahead and click it, and then I can execute it locally with the launch application choice from the menu. Something else that's been an issue lately is if I back up one level here, actually two levels, they have this new option here which is called auto offload. And I suppose about a month or so ago, they added this option. And the reason they added it is because Amazon Fire Sticks, all except for the absolute newest 4K Max that came out this year, all have 8 gigs of memory. And that 8 gigs of memory, about 5 of them are used for the Fire TV OS, which is a variant of Android 9. And then you get about 3 gigs of memory to load applications. And so you're always running out of memory. Well, they added this option called auto offload, and by default it's on, and what it does is it goes ahead and deinstalls your application but leaves a stub in memory that basically will have all your authentication information and so on, but the application won't run until you actively click on it. Well, that sounds like a great idea to save memory until you realize that there are some applications that I don't actively click on. And I'll give you some good examples here. We move over here to my application list. I have an application that's really handy, and if you don't use it, it is one that's very worthwhile. It is called, and now of course I'm not seeing it, but it's called Notifications for Fire TV. It's this guy right here. And this is an application that generally runs in the background. And what this application does is it can track messages that can come in, and I send messages from my Habitat hub to it when certain events occur in the house at certain times. So for example, there you can see movement detected in the master bathroom, and what I'm doing there is I'm tracking if one of our cats happens to want to be going off in this other room. I want to be aware when she's back there, and so I have that capability. Well, in their infinite wisdom at Amazon, they decided that auto offload feature was a great idea. It offloaded this app, and for a couple days I wasn't receiving my notifications until I became aware of the fact that that's what they had done to try to free up memory. And so no one had really determined would that be an impact to anybody. They just determined that it would be a good idea if they went ahead and removed that. And so in my case, that obviously caused an issue. As I had mentioned earlier, Fire OS, which is what drives the Fire TVs, the Fire TV sticks, and even the Fire tablets, is based on Android 9. And of course, Android 9 is like 5 years old. The current version of Android is Android 14 now. So, and also you have to realize that Amazon's, connection with Google is not one of the greatest out there. And so consequently, they really want to develop their own OS. So this is kind of concerning for the open source community, because right now Android here, even Fire OS is based on Android, and so therefore we have a lot of access to things. And being able to run some specialized applications like the Android TV notifier I showed you, and also TinyCam Pro and some other things out here, are really going to be key in allowing you to integrate with your home lab and integrate with your home automation. So my concern is if Amazon decides to redevelop the operating system that underlies the Fire TV devices and it becomes proprietary, what are our choices of apps going to be? And that's one of the reasons why I don't feel like a device like Roku is the best choice for people that want to do home integrations with their set-top device, because you really can't have specialized apps over in the Roku world. You just have their so-called channels or streams. But the idea of doing something like running a VPN directly on a Roku device is a kind of a non-starter for right now. So here I am back on an Ubuntu desktop, and there's an application called Screen Copy by Jenny Mobile that's been around for quite a few years. And you can install it with the sudo apt install scrcpy and put in my sudo password, and this thing goes ahead and installs. So what scrcpy is it is actually a repackaging of the Android development kit, in this case the Android development kit for Linux, And notably, it has a few utilities inside of it. And the key utility that it has is ADB, which is the Android Debug Bridge. And that's what allows you to connect to an Android device on your network or via USB, as long as that device has USB debugging turned on. And that's one of the things that we did in the Fire TV stick. So once we have ADB debugging set to on, and we also found out what the IP address of that particular Fire Stick was, then the next step that we want to do is we want to connect to that device in order to be able to do a few things with it. Of course, the power of live video being what it is, I realized that the desktop that I was working on was not on the correct VLAN. So I've come back here to my desktop, and I'm going to go ahead and issue the ADB connect command. So basically it's ADB connect, and then the address of the target system. In this case, that is the address of the Fire TV stick. And then port 5555 is the default port that ADB Bridge uses in order to make a connection. It goes ahead and starts its daemon, and then it says that it is correctly connected to the device. So you can connect via ADB, via USB, but it's much more convenient to connect via the network. Now that we've done that, I have the screen copy command, which I can go ahead and use in order to connect to the device itself. And so I'll go ahead and enter the screen copy command here. I put a couple of command qualifiers on it. First of all, shortcut -mod equals R control means it's going to use the right control key as its function key. And one of the commands I'm going to use is the right control with the F command to make it full screen. And then I have disable screensaver, so I don't want the screensaver popping up remotely. And then -M1024 simply lowers the resolution so that it will be a little bit more responsive, because these Fire TV sticks are not known for their blinding speed. So when I go ahead and hit enter, it brings it up, but it brought it up on my other screen. So I'll bring it over here. I'll do my right control F, and it makes the sky full screen. My right click button is equivalent to my back button, and so it'll bring me back to home. And then of course I can go over and click on individual things if I want to, or I can use my right arrows to move around. And it's a little bit more responsive here than it would be otherwise. So I've been using this all along in the video to show you the screens I want to show you. But let's go back to the command prompt again, and I'm going to do that with my right control F, and I'm simply going to hit X to exit this screen, which is connected to the GUI on the Fire TV stick. What I really want to show you is that since I'm connected here in virtue of the ADB connect command, I can do an ADB shell, and I'll get a command prompt over there. And I suppose Mantis must be their code word for the project that they used to build this. I'm not sure what it is, but it is always Mantis as the prompt when you go connect over to the Fire TV sticks. And so over here, obviously I'm on a Linux machine, so I can do things like an ls. But you notice we get all these permission denieds, and the reason for that is because this Android device is a production device and it's not rooted. And because it's not rooted, we don't have any admin privilege into it. So there's one place really that we can look and we can do things with, and that's going to be in the storage folder. So if I cd into storage, and now over here do an ls-al, we'll do an H for human readable form, it will list out those folders. And the real place that you want to end up going here is to cd into the SD card 0 folder. And that's really in newer versions of Android. I think from like Android 8 and onward, they have this structure where even if you don't have an optional SD card or USB storage on there, it considers it main storage to be an SD card 0. So now I can do an ls-alh in here, and we have things that kind of make sense to us. So we have our downloads directory, we have our DCIM directory for pictures and such, which are not probably going to have anything on, considering that this device doesn't have a camera, but certainly we could push something into the download folder or pull something from it. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of the bridge and come back to my local desktop, and I have a file that's called test.txt, which I'll go ahead and cat out. And it's not real exciting, but it's just has the text. This is a text file. And one of the things that we'll be able to do is to take that text file and move that up there with an ADB push test.txt to /storage/SD card /download. And likewise, I could do a command ADB shell and then do an ls of /storage /SD card 0 /download, and we see that test.txt is out there. Likewise, I could cat that file out there, and yes, we have to say test.txt, works a lot better. And there's the file, and likewise I can delete the file by doing an ADB shell remove on test.txt, and it goes away. If you had a file on your Fire TV that you wanted to bring back to your Linux machine, you could do the opposite of ADB push, which is ADB pull. Now, something else that's kind of interesting is we can do an ADB shell PM space list space packages. If we list all of the packages, it will go ahead and give us a big long list of everything that is installed over there. But we can go ahead and do an ADB shell PM list packages and pipe that over to grep and search for the word tools, and I have an application installed on the Fire TV which is called Easy Fire Tools. If I wanted to remove that, I could do an ADB uninstall and then grab the name of the package. I don't get the word package, I just grab everything after the colon here. I copy it and I can paste it in here, and the ADB uninstall uninstalls it, and it tells us we had success in uninstalling it. And then likewise, I have, if I do an ls down here on tools.apk, I have that installation file that I simply renamed to tools.apk. So the opposite of that is an ADB install on the file tools.apk, and it will go ahead and connect to the bridge and perform what's called a streamed install, which is where it takes that APK file from my local machine, moves it up there and installs it, and now it is installed. So that's one way you can sideload things on a Fire TV stick. Since Fire TV sticks do not have the Android store or the Android Play Store by default, you could go ahead and download something on the net, being careful, of course, of the source and where you get it, and then you can perform an install from your Linux machine after having performed an ADB connect. So kind of my point is, with the tools that we have available to us in terms of the Android debug bridge, it's really nice to be able to connect to Fire TV devices. And That's simply because today they're Android devices. When Amazon decides to move over to their new OS, which has been codenamed Vega, Vega is going to be a proprietary system. As close as I can determine, it's been in development since around 2017. I think their initial goal is to move it to Fire TVs, Fire TV sticks, and ultimately tablets. I think the motivation is lack of memory and lack of performance. I just worry that they're going to end up with kind of a proprietary type of system that will not be like the Android experience that we have today. And although the Android experience with Fire TV is slow, at least it's compatible with the ability to run a variety of applications that are readily available. If Amazon moves towards their proprietary Vega OS, will it be open enough to develop apps, or will third parties be able to develop apps for it, or will they control the entire ecosystem? That remains to be seen. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe and like to the channel, and I appreciate each and every one of you as subscribers, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you can be aware of new videos. Anyway, that's it for today, and we'll see you next time.